Music has the ability to dramatically enhance what's going on in a picture or dramatically distract from what the right decision should be when you're reading into the context of a picture. And I'd like to further illustrate this point with a scene from Edward Scissorhands. There's that moment where he first comes home, walks around the living room, and looks at the pictures. Now, there's several ways you can read the context of what's going on in this scene. You could notice this nice, clean, quiet little house, and here comes Edward dressed all in black and in leather with wild hair and the scissor hands that look suspiciously like knives when he walks close by the camera at the start of that shot, and maybe interpret it one way. Of course, you may actually read the dynamic between the two people in that scene as a little bit more lighthearted and mellow, and maybe read it as even slightly comical. And there's enough there that you could possibly read it that way. So let's see what happens when the scene is rescored in those two different contexts. Okay, so maybe in that first version, we read a little too much into how scary Edward should be. By that point, if we were responsible for scoring this movie, Tim Burton would have sat down with us and said, okay, I'm gonna give you one more try. Maybe you went a little too far with the scary. You read a little too much into what you saw. That wasn't exactly the context. Maybe just lighten it up a little. So it's like, okay, we're gonna go back and lighten it up a little. So here's attempt number 2. We've lightened the scene up just a bit. Okay, so maybe at this point, we overshot what it meant to lighten up that scene. We went from way too scary and we overcorrected dramatically and went way too silly. In both cases, we dramatically overshot what the movie needed. We read way too much of the wrong context for the scene, and clearly the music just didn't fit either time. Unfortunately, this director, Tim Burton, is gonna have to come sit down with us again and say, wow, you've so dramatically missed the mark on both of these that at this point, I'm sure we're just fired at this point. So let's say he hired Danny Elfman to finish the score, which is exactly what happened. Elfman was the composer for this film. And notice what kind of context Elfman reads in this cue. Notice what happens when Edward first walks into the room, and then notice what happens when they begin looking at pictures. And right in the middle of the scene, something very powerful and dramatic happens. The music makes a shift, and suddenly he reads a context in the scene that wasn't visible anywhere in the room, but captures something deeply powerful and extremely emotional about this character, his true intentions, and his true nature. So let's watch what Danny Elfman did with the scene in Edward Scissorhands.
This is the living room, and back here are the bedrooms. You want to see the pictures? All right. Well, this is my husband, Bill. He's a bowling champion. Do you know what bowling is? No, bowling? No, well, here they are down at the lake fishing. I think Kevin looks a little glum because they didn't catch anything that day. And here's my daughter, Kim, all dressed for the junior prom. She's a senior now, if you can believe it. She's camping in the mountains with some friends, but she'll be back in a few days and you can meet her then. Isn't she beautiful? That's my family. Come along, dear, and I'll show you the rest of the house. Then you can just freshen up and make yourself at home.
If you'd like to learn more film scoring tips like these, sign up for free, and I promise you, these lessons will help you on your journey to becoming an accomplished film composer.